You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Arya Whitner, and this is your NXT update for Wednesday, June 29th, 2016. It was another alright episode of NXT this week, with some fun wrestling, a little bit of storyline advancement, and still, if you didn't see the show, you missed absolutely nothing. The show kicked off this week with NXT's pixie-sized diva Alexa Bliss going against the most fabulous girl in NXT, Carmella. Alexa is so short. How short is she? Alexa is so short that when she is standing on top of a fallen Carmella, she is still shorter than the referee. That's short. This match was solid yet unspectacular. Both ladies have impressed to the point that it's not an embarrassment to ever put them on television. The only rough spot in this one was at one point Carmella was standing on the apron and Alexa reached over the top rope and slammed Carmella down on the apron. However, you might have noticed from my joke from earlier, Alexa's short, and she can barely get up over the top rope, so it looked awkward with seeing her having to reach up over the top rope to throw Carmella down. She honestly should have just reached under the top rope and did it. Same effect, and it would have looked better, folks. Alexa at one point threw a temper tantrum when she didn't get a pinfall. I like to point out that my grandmother would have threatened to put her over her knee for throwing a temper tantrum. Carmella used a kick to the head and a Bronco Buster, but still wasn't enough. Finally, Alexa won with Twisted Bliss, which is the move that used to be known as the Sparkle Splash. To be fair, it didn't really make much sense with Alexa's character not being a pixie cheerleader anymore, to be using something called the Sparkle Splash. But anyway, Alexa picks up the win. We then got, quote-unquote, exclusive comments from Shinsuke Nakamura backstage. I know, I'm probably the only person who finds it annoying, but why does WWE call every interview they do exclusive? I know technically it is, but I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of people begging to be involved in these interviews where they ask, wrestlers a 30-second question about what's their plan for tonight. Anywho, this was a sit-down interview with Nakamura, and later they did one with Balor. They're both well-produced, they're both nice. Both of them basically said that they're friends with each other, and they both look forward to facing each other. Both want to win. Nakamura said that he wants to be an icon in NXT, and in order to be an icon, he has to beat Balor, while Balor said that he didn't think he was an icon. It's not as good as some of the other stuff that they've done in the past, other similar type segments, but it gets the point, it gets everything across, Then we had Bayley cutting a promo backstage saying it feels amazing to be back in the ring, and getting a win last week was awesome. She feels 100% and is ready to get her championship back. Up walked Alexa Bliss, who said that she deserved the title shot more than Bayley, and if Bayley wants a title shot, she has to go through Alexa. This set up a match for next week on this very program. We then got Andrade Cien Almas versus Noah, I'm going to butcher this one, Noah Podjes, I think is how it's pronounced, Potjes. Should put on Noah wrestled one other time in NXT. It was last month. He was one half of a losing tag team, and they only ever mentioned his first name. So this week, not only did he get a last name, he also got a televised entrance. I know, right? Anyway, Andrade looked real good here. Better than he did at least in that second match with Dillinger a few weeks ago. They did a spot where Noah shot him off into the ropes, and Noah did the drop down for Almas to jump over him. However, when Almas came bounding off the ropes, he hit just a beautifully timed drop kick to his fallen foe. and almost then won with the running knees in the corner. Austin Aries was backstage, saying that he's the greatest man who ever lived, and since the moment he walked into NXT, the fans should have been privileged. They should have felt honored to see him compete in the ring. No Way Jose has never done anything in his career, hasn't beaten anyone. However, the fans get excited because he comes out and he shakes his butt. He attacked Jose because of all the fat, pasty, ugly fans. At this point, I was convinced he was going to say, Arya, I'm beating him up because of you. And then he vowed that everything that happens from now on is our fault. Dagnabbit, what did we do? They did the Balor segment next that I mentioned when they discussed Nakamura. This is the first time, by the way, that anyone mentioned that they have wrestled before, because I thought I was going crazy because this thing was being built up almost like it was the first time ever, and I could have sworn they'd wrestled before, and I was right because Balor did say it. We then got what turned out to be the main event, and a shockingly good match, considering one of the teams in it. It was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Hype Bros, and maybe I shouldn't be so surprised that it was a good match, but I just really was. A month ago, Gargano and Ciampa won a match over the Revival. 2 weeks after that, they won a second match, making it 2 in a row. If they beat the Hype Bros in this match, they will be on a winning streak. It has happened before. However, their quest for a third straight win didn't start well when Rawley literally lifted Gargano up and flung him across the ring, causing Johnny Wrestling to crash painfully to the mat. Ryder tagged in and immediately got taken down and beaten on by Gargano and Ciampa. We had a wild free-for-all breaking out, culminating with Rawley hitting a very nice-looking clothesline outside of Gargano. Mojo used the pounce on Ciampa, but Ciampa was too close to the ropes, so Rawley couldn't make the cover. They set up the Hype Rider on Ciampa, but Gargano broke it up, pulled Mojo outside the ring, and took his head off with a super kick. We then got about 2 minutes in a row where it was just a series of near finishers. Not near finishes, near finishers, where it's like everybody set up for their finisher, but it kept being cut off. And then they do roll-ups and small packages. Everyone would be kicking out of everything. And eventually Gargano and Ciampa got their elusive winning streak, picked up that third win in a row with a double kick to the head to a fallen Zack Ryder. After the match, Ciampa and Gargano took the mic to announce that they wanted a title shot at the Revival, who, as mentioned, they beat a month ago, the week before NXT TakeOver. This brought out American Alpha, who, were champions until just 3 weeks ago. Gable said that Gargano and Ciampa are not next in line. American Alpha is. Jordan also vowed revenge on the Authors of Pain, and they will show the Revival that they are the alphas of NXT. And at this point, I had actually forgotten about the Authors of Pain because they'd been on TakeOver, and then they had that one match like 2 weeks ago, and then I completely forgot that they existed. Out came the Revival at this point, who told the 4 men in the ring that as champions, they drive the car and they man the ship. They're the ones calling the shots, and they feel that neither team deserve a title shot, saying that they dictate the terms of when they fight and who they fight. Oh well, because out came Mr. William Regal, NXT General Manager, who pointed out that as GM of NXT, he dictates the terms. He did say Gargano and Ciampa deserve a title shot, but before that happens, next week, on this very show, the Revival will defend the Tag Team Championship against American Alpha in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So Regal left, the Revival left. In the ring, the 2 babyface teams shook hands. Gargano and Ciampa began walking out and going up the ramp, when the Authors of Pain came flying out of nowhere and beat up Gable and Jordan. Gargano and Ciampa tried to make the save, but they got laid out. Gable and Jordan made a very brief comeback, including Jordan giving a suplex to one of them, which honestly I think was a little bit of a mistake since, I think, their first big match against each other, they really should have been built up as, can American Alpha actually suplex these two men? But hey, what do I know, right? Anyway, the baby faces ultimately got laid out yet again with the Authors of Pain combination leg sweep clothesline Adelia Bob. They continued to beat on them until Paul Ellering came out onto the ramp and beckoned his boys away as the show ended. So, it's been 3 weeks. Authors of Pain still don't have individual names. We still don't know why they want to beat up American Alpha so badly. Perhaps we'll find out next week. But next week, it's 2 out of 3 falls. In 2 weeks, it's Finn Balor versus Shinsuke Nakamura. But until then, I'm going to wrap things up from here. So thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.